So my name is Karabo Makenna,
Cobus Engelbrecht.
and we are Art of Brother. We call ourselves like multidisciplinary, multimedia artists or creatives because we like to explore with different textures, different mediums, jewelry to architecture to graphic design to fashion design to textile design. A lot of it had to do with skateboarding because we have both been skateboarding since high school days. And obviously that was like a great meeting point, so we started hanging out. And he lived in town, so I used to come to his place a lot, and we used to just cruise the streets and check. That's when we actually started to explore the city. And yeah, we were young, reckless, and it's just enjoying being in a new environment, which is Cape Town. So there was this like excitement to get on our boards and explore this new city. Through skateboarding, you get to explore places where people are a bit afraid to go, like dark alleys or downtown, or places that they don't see themselves like being, basically. And that's where we find excitement. That's where we go and venture.
So yeah, I think it's also just kind of a way of interacting with the city and the people that live in it a bit differently. Because I find it like, if you're just walking down the street, somebody's not necessarily going to come and interact with you, but if you're skateboarding, they might find it interesting or they might find it annoying, but either or, you're kind of creating an interaction with somebody. Like whatever you see or the conversations you have, it's quite interesting, you know?
And we found that a big theme in our work has been like this idea of storytelling. So that's this idea of communicating, people talking and interacting. So I think, yeah, there is definitely a very close similarity between us being on our boards and the work we create.
The two of us did an exhibition called Myths Recreated, the Worldart exhibition. And the whole kind of concept or theme was about storytelling and like how South Africa is so rich with different cultures and different people.
We took two African stories, one being South African called Selagana and the River God, and one Ghanaian story called Kweku Ananse. We wanted to bring them back to life. So what we did is we collaborated with other artists, namely Tandiwe Shabalala, Fuzzy Slippers, Nolan Dennis, Darren Christian, and Russell Abrams. We gave them the stories and we asked them to reinterpret them.
I mean, these stories come from way back, but it all still has relevance right now. Like no matter what time you're in or what environment you're in, just there's always a lesson to be learned.
This idea has influenced our current body of work, which is called Country for Old Men. So this is quite a personal journey for us. Just this idea of manhood and questioning what manhood is, but also paying forward what our ancestors did in the past, and like what their perceptions were, or what the perception is of them. So the idea of like this masculinity, this man's man kind of character, throwing them into like a contemporary kind of environment. We wanted to reflect on our fathers and grandfathers' stories. This illustration I did of my dad's first car. Car was obviously quite iconic where I grew up in Soweto.
Through our art, we want people to come in and then kind of evoke them to start chatting about it and kind of open up about their stories and their history and kind of tell the stories of their fathers and their forefathers and like how they relate to that and how everybody kind of relates to each other. We fear and make fun of what we don't know. So as soon as we have more knowledge, it becomes, I think that's kind of what we need to do right now. Especially in South Africa, we just need to start sharing our stories and start understanding where one another comes from, and then it'll all make a bit more sense.
Yeah, and that relates a lot to our relationship because we're from completely different backgrounds. But all of that is like put in the back because after spending lots of time together, we found that, shit, we actually have a lot of similarities, even though we come from quite starkly different backgrounds. This exhibition is still based on storytelling, but we wanted to kind of reflect on our own experiences. And so we wanted to open this up to everybody to kind of see if we if it resonates with them, and if maybe they have some similar stories from their grandfathers and their fathers around this topic of what masculinity is and what it means in contemporary South Africa.